The Lives of the Saints by Father Alban Butler, July 30th, Blessed Thomas Abel. This diocesan priest, Master of Arts and Doctor of Theology from Oxford University, was chaplain and professor of music and languages to Queen Catherine of Aragon. When King Henry VIII wanted to take possession of the brief by which Pope Julius I had granted him the necessary dispensation to marry Catherine, he sent Thomas to Spain to obtain it from Emperor Charles V. Abel carried a letter from the Queen requesting the brief, but she secretly instructed Thomas Abel to warn the emperor that delivery of the brief would damage his cause. Charles V did so, and to reward the services of Blessed Thomas, the Queen proposed him as a candidate for a benefice of Bradwell in Essex. But no doubt the king had suspected what services he rendered to Catherine, because in 1532 Thomas appealed to the Pope to protect him against the possible revenge of the monarch. Clement VII had already prepared a brief by which he named him apostolic preacher, but it was never published. For his part, Blessed Thomas, certain that in any case he would be punished by the king, wrote a work entitled Invicta Veritas, in which he refuted the sentence that the universities had given about Henry's marriage. This earned him imprisonment in the Tower of London. On Christmas Eve he was released, but a year later he was again imprisoned. In February 1534 he was moved to Beauchamp Tower. An inscription of his name, Thomas A., and a drawing of a bell still remain on the wall. Henry VIII had tried to catch him in some crime during the previous 6 months, until at last he had him arrested for complicity in the affair of the Holy Maid of Kent, although there was no proof that he had had anything to do with it. He was, however, condemned for having lent such firm and constant credence to the maiden's purported visions, which had moved him to write against the king's divorce and to incite Catherine to oppose it. In the spring of 1537, he was still in prison. At that time, he wrote Cromwell a very respectful letter, noting that for 3 years he had been awaiting trial, asking him to change his prison and asking him to allow him to celebrate Mass, because he was ill, in misery, and that would be a great comfort. He succeeded in getting a change of prison, but that was all. 3 years later, the jailer took it upon himself to allow Father Abel and Father Powell to go out begging. For giving permission, the jailer was sent to the Marshalsea prison, and for giving alms to the priests, the Bishop of Chichester and Dr. Wilson were imprisoned in the Tower of London. On July 24, 1540, Blessed Thomas was convicted of high treason for supporting the Bishop of Rome and denying the spiritual supremacy of the king. He was executed on the 30th of the same month, along with Blessed Leonard Powell and Blessed Richard Featherston, with whom he had been condemned. A letter that the French ambassador Marillac wrote to King Francis I, in which he narrates the indignation of the crowd that witnessed the martyrdom at Smithfield, is still preserved.